Mark's night started with the bitter sting of frost biting through his hoodie, his breath puffing like tiny ghosts in the streetlights. He could hear the distant hum of the city, empty sidewalks, occasional clatter of a stray bottle, but nothing compared to the hammering of his own pulse. He was just crossing the last block when the roar of a black SUV shattered the silence. Out poured Richard Thompson, the kind of man who thought superiority was sewn into his DNA, spitting judgments like venom on anyone who didn't fit his ivory bubble. Richard had made a career out of sneering at everyone he deemed beneath him, and tonight he had targeted Mark without knowing a single fact. "You there! Stop!" Richard barked, eyes glinting with malicious delight. Mark froze, medicine bag in hand. "It's just," he started, but Richard didn't care. He barked orders that sounded like drills at a military camp, while the few people around scuttled like mice avoiding a cat. "Look at you, late-night wanderers, always up to something, huh?" The sarcasm dripped thick. Mark felt the sting of ridicule, each word another slap. Behind him, Mrs. Walter peeked from her window, rolling her eyes at Richard's theatrics. Richard's friends snickered, filming every humiliating moment as Mark's bag of medicine slipped from his grasp, scattering across the cold asphalt. "Oh, look, the charity case is dropping his toys," one muttered. Mark's fingers trembled as he knelt, gathering the pills. Deep down, a flicker of something dangerous was stirring, something Richard couldn't yet imagine. Richard Thompson strutted like a peacock on parade, his arrogance so thick it could be cut with a butter knife. "Pick up faster, charity boy." He sneered, the sound of his own voice making him giddy. Mark's hands shook, stacking pills into the small bag, while Richard's goons laughed, filming everything. "Wow, you're really the hero type, huh? Saving the world one aspirin at a time," another taunted, snapping pictures. Mark gritted his teeth, but the cold fury rising inside him was invisible, unnoticed. Across the street, Mrs. Walter whispered fiercely to herself, "Just wait, Richard. Karma's got a fast lane reserved for you." Inside, Mark's mind was racing. He imagined every humiliating moment Richard had inflicted on someone weaker, every snide comment, every contemptuous glance. That sneer wouldn't survive the storm that was quietly forming. Richard leaned closer, face red, voice dripping condescension. "Ever think about what people like you actually contribute, huh?" The words were knives. A flicker of laughter escaped Mark, soft, almost dangerous. Richard didn't notice. He flexed, showing off wealth, power, and prejudice like medals. Then Mark's phone buzzed, an unexpected message from someone Richard despised, someone who had been quietly gathering proof of every twisted act Richard had ever committed. Mark's pulse shifted from panic to planning, adrenaline mixing with dark humor. He straightened, looked Richard dead in the eye, and whispered, "Funny. People always underestimate the quiet ones." Across the screen, the message sent, a chain of reactions about to erupt. "Hey, if you're enjoying this chaotic, spicy downfall, make sure to like and subscribe to Bella's Quiet Place so you don't miss what happens next." Richard Thompson puffed his chest like a bull in a china shop, convinced the night belonged to him. He swaggered closer, phone in hand, smirking at the thought of viral humiliation he was crafting himself. "You think you're clever?" He hissed at Mark, voice thick with malice. Mark just smiled faintly, like a cat letting the mouse think it had a chance. Behind him, Mrs. Walter's curtains twitched as if cheering silently for justice. Suddenly, every screen on the street, traffic monitors, nearby shop displays, even Richard's own phone, flashed with videos and screenshots exposing his arrogance, bigotry, and petty schemes. Faces twisted in shock, whispers exploded into laughter. Richard stumbled, scrambling to delete posts, only to find each attempt met with another upload, faster than his ego could process. The crowd, initially frozen, erupted into gleeful mockery. "Hey, Mr. Superior, guess what karma looks like?" someone shouted. Richard's goons fumbled, trying to defend their leader, but each video revealed their boss in progressively cruelly hilarious ways. Insults he had thrown, lies he had spread, every act of prejudice documented and amplified. Mark, calm but radiating power, stepped forward, retrieving his fallen medicine bag as if nothing had happened. "Funny how truth works," he said, voice low but sharp. Richard froze, mouth agape, realizing this wasn't just humiliation, it was exposure. The irony was delicious, his carefully curated image destroyed by the very tools he wielded to mock others. Mark's smirk widened. Mrs. Walter leaned out, chuckling. "Never underestimate the quiet ones, Richard. Never." If you're loving this spicy, wicked downfall, don't forget to like and subscribe to Bella's Quiet Place to catch the final explosive twist. Richard Thompson's face was a masterpiece of disbelief, sweat gleaming under streetlights, his ego shredded like paper in a hurricane. Each insult, each sneer, each petty act of racism he had unleashed over the years played on every screen, echoing in real time. People laughed, cried with schadenfreude, and filmed his unraveling like a national spectacle. His goons, once cocky, were now a tangle of excuses, stammering under the weight of Richard's disgrace. Mark stepped forward, calm, almost serene, holding the very bag of medicine that had begun this chain of chaos. "You thought power came from fear," he said, voice cutting through the laughter. "It comes from integrity, and you just signed your own obituary." Every person around knew it was truth. Richard tried to shout, to command, to reclaim dominance, but the world had already turned against him. His wealth, his status, his carefully built fortress of superiority crumbling like stale bread. Even his allies abandoned him, disgusted, laughing too hard to speak, the humiliation nuclear in scale. Mrs. Walter emerged from her doorway, arms crossed, eyes sparkling with righteous joy. "Some lessons," she said slowly, "need a little fire." Richard's mouth opened, closed, flopped in desperation. Mark smiled, guiding his sister's baby home safely, his calm contrasting Richard's collapse. The crowd cheered, phones held high. Justice, funny, brutal, undeniable. Richard Thompson had become a cautionary tale, humiliated, exposed, powerless. Thank you for watching Bella's Quiet Place. If this wild, wicked, satisfying downfall entertained you, make sure to like, subscribe, and share. You won't want to miss the next story of chaos, revenge, and ultimate truth.